Welcome to the NFL MVP Momentum Podcast. I'm Sam Holcroft. Before I begin, don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Momentum MVP, follow our Facebook page at MVP Momentum Podcast, and check us out on YouTube at MVP Momentum Podcast. So today I'm going to give our recap of the Week 2 games before the Monday night games. I will talk about our picks, Overreaction Mondays, upsets, double downs, and then I'm going to talk about the 0-2 teams, if it's time to panic or not. So just recapping last week, at least before the Monday night games, Peyton and I each had 5 incorrect picks. Zeke had 4 and Sean had 6. I got my upset and double down. Zeke and Sean both got their upsets wrong, but got their double downs correct. Peyton did not get his double down, but he could still get a bonus point with the Panthers Saints. He has the Panthers and the Steelers winning, while Sean, Zeke, and I all have the other teams. So then looking at the standings, Zeke has 24 points with a 20-10 record. Sean also has 24 points with a 19-11 record. I have 23 points at 18-12, and Peyton has 20 points with 19 correct picks and 11 wrong picks. But that could easily change with these Monday night games. So go on to my overreaction, or into our Overreaction Mondays. Zeke's Overreaction Monday is Eagles are winning the Super Bowl. They looked fairly well against the Vikings. Offense seems to be clicking. They might have found their running back one, DeAndre Swift, but we'll definitely have to see whether or not that is actually a good Vikings team. Because right now the Patriots could be a decent team, but right now that could be just 2 easy wins that the Eagles had that just ended up being one possession wins. Sean's Overreaction Monday. The Bengals might be worse than the Jets. The Bengals offense, they were almost non-existent against the Browns, and against the Ravens, they didn't really do anything until the second half, really. They started moving the ball down. T. Higgins got a couple touchdowns, but still, I don't know if this is a year of regression for Joe Mixon. The defense is not looking good. Jesse Bates already looks like that might be a missed part in their defense. So we'll have to see. But yeah, Bengals might be worse than the Jets right now. My Overreaction Monday is none of the AFC division winners look good so far. Like the Chiefs have had 2 sloppy games, a 1-point loss to the Lions and a 1-possession win against the Jaguars, where they really didn't deserve to win that game. And talking about the Jaguars, they didn't look good. They only put up 9 points, having to kick 3 field goals and a turnover on downs in the red zone. Like that could have been an easy 28-17 kind of game against the Chiefs, but they just couldn't punch it into the end zone at all. The Bengals, like I just said with Sean's overreaction, just don't look good. And the Bills, I mean, they beat a Raiders team that was missing their second best player on their defense. Horrible secondary. Josh Allen's not going to have 2 bad games in a row, but they had probably the sloppiest game, at least from the quarterback play, that I have seen so far this season, with Josh Allen throwing the ball, or having 4 turnovers, against the Jets, 3 interceptions and a lost fumble. It was not a good look. So yeah, none of the division winners from the AFC look good so far this season. And then Peyton's is the Chargers are regressing. They should have competed well with the Dolphins. They had a decent chance to go down and kick a game-winning field goal, but they weren't able to against the Dolphins. And then in this game against the Titans, they were down, kicked the last second field goal to tie it, went to overtime, 3 and out. Titans went down, kicked the game-winning field goal, and the game was over. So the Chargers do not look like they are good right now. Now I'm going to go through the 0-2 teams, and I'll tell you if it's time to panic or not. We'll start off with the New England Patriots. Is it time to panic? Not necessarily. Now, you kind of knew that you were going to be in the toughest division in football. You got the Bills, the Dolphins, and the Jets all ahead of you. It looks like you could maybe jump the Jets, but here's the thing: just because Aaron Rodgers went down, Jets still have a great surrounding cast, especially on that defense. So I don't think that it's necessarily time to panic. Plus, what were you trying to gain if you did make the playoffs? Not really too much. The Bengals, yes, but we've seen this before. So if you remember going into, or I guess last year, first 8 games of the season, they were 4-4. They didn't lose a game until the AFC Championship game after that. So we know this team, this Bengals team, can get on a run. They went on a huge run, I think, towards the end of the season 2 years ago too. So we've seen this team overcome adversity. But yeah, it's time to panic. But we've seen this team get in holes before. The Houston Texans, they have a rookie quarterback, had a decent offseason, but still not time to panic. What were you trying to get? If you could get 7 wins, that's great. You're not in the Caleb Williams sweepstakes, so that first pick doesn't matter. You're not going to try to get Drake May, so you're not trying to fight to be in that top 3 or top 5. So you're just trying to get a decent pick, not necessarily tanking, but trying to find the wins where you can, especially with the offseason that they had this last season. But they just got to progress in the right direction, and yeah, rookie quarterback, no need to panic. The Los Angeles Chargers, 100%, yes, it's time to panic. Those are 2 games that they could have definitely won, especially with putting up 34 points against the Dolphins defense. That is fairly good. Definitely a top 10 defense in the league. And then losing to the Titans when Titans, they haven't impressed me so far this season. So they should 100% be time to panic because, if they can't win those games, how are you expected to beat the Chiefs, beat a Jaguars team that they, I believe, are playing this season, a Bills team? It's going to be hard to beat those teams if you can't even beat the teams that have less talent than them. The Denver Broncos. Yes, the coaching woes and game miscues continue. Doesn't matter if it's Nathaniel Hackett or Sean Payton. Right now, it doesn't matter because it's starting to look like the same Broncos team that they had last year. Going for an onside kick to start off the season, very risky. I was not a fan of it. Maybe a little biased because they were playing my Raiders. Raiders go down, score a touchdown in what ended up being a 13-10 game, 17-14 game. I don't remember off the top of my head, but the Raiders won because of that. They were up 21-3 against the Commanders yesterday, and they end up blowing that lead and losing 35-33, even though they got a miraculous Hail Mary touchdown. Couldn't get the 2-point conversion. I mean, you know what your 2-point conversion play is, especially if first one of the season, and that was the play they chose. I wasn't a fan of it. So yeah, it's time to panic if you're the Denver Broncos because Sean Payton comes in. You guys have playoff hopes now. You gotta go with that. So Minnesota Vikings. Yes, 11-0 in 1-possession games was the telling of this team last year. Yeah, this team could have easily been 3-14 last year, and it's starting to show. Like they lost to the Buccaneers, who yes, the Buccaneers might be 2-0, but we'll see how good they really are. They played the Bears and the Vikings, which could be the 2 worst teams in that NFC North potentially this year. But, I mean, they should have lost a couple of 1-possession games last year. They've now technically lost 3 straight 1-possession games. They lost to the Giants last year in the playoffs before they got destroyed by the Eagles. So how good was this Vikings team last year? They were good. They fought through adversity, but you're not going 11-0 in 1-possession games 2 seasons in a row. They're already 0-2 this year, and they haven't even played any of their division rivals. So, Chicago Bears. No, they're just looking to improve. It's not time to panic. Bears, yeah, they could have haven't had an outside chance to make the playoffs if they did make that right move, but it's still adamant. Justin Fields needs some help around him. I still believe in him. Peyton, not so much, but they still need weapons. Can Khalil Herbert be the running back? No. Can they get more wide receivers? Maybe not this season. They might have to draft some guys. They might have to make a trade at the trade deadline, but we'll definitely see. The Cardinals. Yes, but for a totally different reason. Why are they almost winning games? This is a team that should be number one on the Caleb Williams tankathon. And they are not taking. They had, I'm pretty sure, double-digit leads against the Commanders and against the Giants in their first two games with Josh Dobbs as their quarterback. Someone who has only started, I think, in the last 3 seasons, like 5 games, maybe 6 games. I don't know why this team is being competitive. Maybe it's just that just tells you what you have to know about the Commanders and Giants. But why are they? It's time to panic because Kyler Murray's going to be out for the season. Unless if you want him to be your quarterback next year, then it's not time to panic. You can do whatever you want. But if you're trying to get Caleb Williams, it's time to panic because you have a shoo-in to the number 1 pick in the draft with Kyler Murray being out the entire season, yet you're choosing to be competitive. I don't know. I just think that's time to panic. So these last two are a little asterisks just because they haven't played. They're playing on Monday night before time of recording. So this is just kind of hypotheticals if they were to lose. So if the Panthers lose, same thing as the Texans. They have a rookie quarterback. No, it's not time to panic. You're just trying to improve. You traded away your wide receiver 1. You still have a good defense, rookie quarterback. You don't need to try to be making strides and panic. You just need to take a step in the right direction, especially if the Buccaneers and Falcons are going to be as competitive, and the Saints are going to be as competitive as it's starting to look like. And then the last one is the Steelers. Yes, but was the playoffs really an expectation? I feel like the more I thought about it, I thought that the Steelers team was a playoff team, but was it really the expectation? Like we've said in multiple podcasts, it's like we expect the 3 teams from the AFC East to go. We expect the Ravens to hold up. We expect the Browns to maybe be good. Raiders or Broncos, Chargers could all be a team that could maybe sneak in there, but realistically, Steelers is just still too young. Kenny Pickett is still a young quarterback. Deontay Johnson's going to be out for at least this game, if not more. Cam Hayward's going to be out for a couple games. This team is starting to look like it's time to panic, not time to throw it away, because this team in 2 or 3 years could be, depending on what the Bengals do this upcoming year, the Steelers team could be one of the better teams on the younger side in that division, and it could go through Pittsburgh. But yeah, it's time to panic in Pittsburgh, especially Mike Tomlin's streak of having winning or 500 seasons. Like, it could be coming to an end this year if they don't start going in the right direction. All right, so now we'll go on to our upsets of the week. Zeke's upset of the week is the Rams over the Bengals. That's next week's Monday night game, one of 2 again. He is the only one going with the Rams there. The Rams have put on some pretty good games. They beat the Seahawks 2 weeks ago, and they were right there with the 49ers. It just shows how good this team can actually be with Matthew Stafford as their quarterback compared to the next best option, even without Cooper Kupp. If they had Cooper Kupp against the 49ers, what would they have done? Could have maybe won. So Sean has an upset, but I also have one as well. We have the same one here, and that is the Patriots over the Jets. So let's see here. So we went with them because not a huge fan of what the Jets have been doing so far. They shouldn't have they shouldn't have won to the Bills, and they competed fairly well with the Cowboys for a little bit, and then it just kind of, fell apart during the second half of that game against the Cowboys. But I think that this could be definitely a game that the Patriots could win, considering that they have had 2 one-possession losses to the Dolphins and the Eagles. So Yeah, we took the Patriots there. Peyton's upset of the week is the Buccaneers over the Eagles. He is doubling down. I guess, sorry, that's a little preemptive. But he's, I guess, for for better term, he is doubling down that the Eagles are not better than the Cowboys, and he thinks that the Buccaneers are going to beat the Eagles next Monday night. I could see it. The Buccaneers are riding pretty hot right now. I'm not too keen on the Eagles either, with how they've played their 2 games against the Vikings and the Patriots, but we're still going with the Eagles here. So is Zeke and Sean. Yeah, I don't really see that going the right direction for the Bucks, even though they are riding pretty hot. But we'll definitely see. Now moving on to the double downs. Zeke's double down, as per usual, is the Eagles. First game that I'm going to call a conflict of interest, where someone has opposite of someone, where it's a double down or an upset. So we'll see, because like that could be a huge game for the points spread, because that's a 6-point spread or 6-point flip right there. Sean's double down for the week is the Cowboys over the Cardinals. And we all have the Cowboys here. Although the Cardinals could put up an impressive game, that Cowboys defense has just been phenomenal so far this year. So far showing that they are the best defense in the league, with the addition of Stephon Gilmore. And we all expect them to keep winning. My double down, is the Chiefs over the Bears. Even though the Chiefs have not looked the best, I think the Bears have looked worse. So that's why I'm going down with that. Everyone else agrees that the Chiefs are going to win there. And Peyton's double down, the last double down we'll talk about, is the Bills over the Commanders. Even though the Commanders are 2-0, the Bills definitely have shown, like, hey, 2 bad games in a row ain't happening. They won 38-10 against the Raiders. We all agree that the Bills are going to win here. It's going to be a very fun game to watch, especially if the Commanders are trying to, be like, hey, we're still here too in the division. So Thursday night football game with the Giants and the 49ers. We all think the 49ers are going to win. They've had some two good games, looked pretty well, and Giants just have not looked well. They went almost an entire – was it a shutout at halftime? I think it might have been a shutout at halftime. They went 6 quarters without scoring any points, or almost 6 quarters if they did score in that second quarter. The Titans and Browns and the Falcons and Lions, we all agree that it's the Browns and the Lions winning that one. As much as I want to go with the Falcons here, I think that, and Zeke and I predicted correctly, that the Seahawks were going to upset the Lions. I don't think that the Lions are going to have 2 bad games in a row. They got off that high of unveiling that Barry Sanders statue and everything, but I think the Browns and Lions are definitely going to be winning this upcoming week, and I think we all agree with that. Next one, we have a 2-2 split between the Saints and the Packers, where Sean and I are going with the Saints, while Peyton and Zeke are going with the Packers. I've watched Jordan Love for 2 weeks now, and although he's been pretty dang good, I still think that the Saints, even though I've only seen them play 1 game, I do think that Derek Carr will outplay Jordan Love. I still think that Jordan Love has some growing to do. In that fourth quarter and last few drives against the Falcons, Jordan Love had a couple really bad throws. So I'm expecting the Saints defense, to get a couple picks like they did in the game against the Titans. So we'll definitely see. But, I mean, if they could get Aaron Jones back and A.J. Dillon rolling, Packers could easily win this game as well. Broncos-Dolphins, we all picked the Dolphins here. Broncos' woes could continue, especially considering they are 0-2. Starting off the season 0-3 would not be good. Speaking of starting the season off 0-3, we got the Chargers and the Vikings playing each other. We have another 2-2 split here where Peyton and I are going with the Chargers, while Zeke and Sean are going with the Vikings. It's going to be a tale of who's more desperate. Who needs this win more? Because if you go 0-3, not many teams make the playoffs after starting off 0-3. Some teams can still make the Super Bowl after going 0-2. Most notably, I think it was the 07 and 011 or 011, the 11 Giants that went and won the Super Bowl after starting off 0-2. But you normally don't see teams make the playoffs after 0-2 or even 0-3. So who's going to be needing this more between the Chargers and the Vikings? The next three games we all agree on, which is the Texas Jaguars. We all agree that it's the Jaguars. The Colts Ravens. We all agree Ravens. And the Panthers Seahawks. We all agree on the Seahawks. And then that leaves the last game, which is the Steelers Raiders. We all agree that the Raiders will win that one. Sunday Night Football. We'll see how this Steelers team can do tonight against the Browns. But the Raiders could have a good bounce back game, especially after a good win against the Broncos. So we'll have to see how these point standings will shake up. Peyton can still get some points tonight. He could actually, if I remember right, that's 1, 2, 3. He could at least be tied for the third place with me if he gets all these right. So we'll see. I'll update you, though. I'll update that next week, and along with all of our other non-Monday night games. So once again, don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Momentum MVP. Follow our Facebook page at MVP Momentum Podcast, and check us out on YouTube at MVP Momentum Podcast. I've been Sam Holcroft. Thanks for listening.